The Brewers are on a pace right now. They could get to 100 wins. They've never done that in franchise history. But would this be the best team in franchise history?
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Good to have you along. Chuck Freimund, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, proud host of Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Coming up on the show, we'll preview the Texas Rangers series. Brewers home for a brief 3-game homestand before heading to the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. Mizorowski's performance on Thursday. Chourio was fantastic. And the Brewers are getting closer and closer to wrapping this thing up. 7-game lead, 28 to go. They have 7 more games with the Cubs. Bill Michaels on his show, Tuesdays around the state of Wisconsin at 11:35, he put out a tweet that if the Brewers went just 500 baseball the rest of the season at 14-14, and the Cubs played at a sizzling rate 22-6, that would be the only way the Cubs could chase down the Brewers right now. You almost hate thinking that way, but the numbers are what they are. Again, the Cubs, if they went 22-6 and Milwaukee played 500 baseball, that at that pace, that would be a way the Cubs could chase down the Brewers. Now, what that doesn't account for if the Brewers go on just a terrible skid, right? We're assuming they could play 500 baseball down the stretch, right? Last September, they were playing right around 500 baseball for the last couple of weeks of the season. But as I recall, in 2018, Milwaukee chased down the Cubs. Remember, Milwaukee had to go on a tear and win their last 8 or 9 games of the season to force game 163. But that's some interesting math. When Bill said that on Twitter tonight, I thought, that was interesting. But a couple of other numbers here for the Brewers. If they went 17-11, over their final 28 games here, they could get to 100 wins for the first time in franchise history. Now, I get asked all the time, obviously, I think it goes without saying, are the Brewers, is this Brewers team the best in Brewers history? I would say probably not. And not that I don't think this team, there's a number of ways that they are. I think fundamentally the way they're managed, the way the organization right now might be the best ever. Now, the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers team had 5 Hall of Famers, yet they failed in the World Series. There were a number of other teams in the late 70s and in the early 80s that didn't get to the postseason. Well, 81 did. There was a strike there, but didn't get to the postseason because there was only 2 teams from each league. Can you believe it? 2 teams from each league. We've only really done this expanded playoffs for 30 years, right? With the 3 divisions in each league, probably 95 or 96 they started that. But back when there was 2 divisions in each league, it was tougher. The Brewers were in the brutal American League East with those teams, Baltimore, Yankees, Boston. That was always considered the toughest division of baseball. And the Brewers could get 90, 93 wins on occasion in the late 70s and be left out the door. There was no wild card back then. But those teams were definitely great. And then when we had the expanded playoffs, it wasn't until 2008 that Milwaukee finally got in as a wild card. And it wasn't until 2011, again, that they got in as the first division champion since 1982, which, again, that is just brutal. That is just a brutal run right there. Even with the expanded playoffs from 1995 to 2011, they could not win the division. I believe when they started off in the 3-division play in both leagues, Milwaukee was in that in American League Central, I want to say, with Cleveland. And Cleveland had those great teams in the mid-'70s. But the Brewers were not getting to the postseason. They finally won their division title in 2011. I would say the best teams in Brewers history 1982, those late 70s teams. 2011 was probably a better team. Yes, it was. I thought that had world championship written all over it. I thought they could win the world championship. In 2018, I would say those teams. And the way they were playing at the end of 2019 too, they got bumped out. They got bumped out by Washington in that one game wild card. Had that been a best of 3, Milwaukee might win that. I would have been interesting to see it in 2019, how they would have tested out against the Dodgers. But yeah, even though Milwaukee could get the best record in Brewers history, I don't put them in the top 5. But on a few things, I think manager-wise, man, they got the best manager, I think, in Brewers history. I do. And I've been around them all. And this guy is the best, Pat Murphy. They do, it's the lightest home run hitting team I've ever seen. But they just make magic happen. Now, one of the best pitching staffs, pitching development, bullpens. Their pitching is just so good. And their base running and their defense. Pitching and defense, that combination right there is one of the strongest I've seen in Brewers history. But overall, when you add the power and all that, but this team, what this team has is the X factor. They just go out there and win, right? They have a tendency to lose the first game of a series and get everybody worried and upset. And then what they do is they come back then and win the next 2. Lose the first one against the Mets. Oh boy, what's going on there? Paul Pratt, little drama going on. Come back the next night, roll. Come back 2 nights later, roll again. Get an easy win. 2 easy wins. And setting themselves up for a 7-game lead on the Cubs, who start a 3-game series this weekend against Cincinnati. But yeah, this definitely really, really good team. Would I put it down as the greatest of all time? Like I mentioned, those teams that are ahead of them. But that doesn't mean I don't like this team. I enjoy watching this team. This team's a fun team to watch. And yeah, there's a lot of naysayers out there who do not think Milwaukee's going to get by any of those National League teams, namely the Dodgers. The playoffs in the National League are just going to be wild. And I think sometimes when you judge how good of a team Milwaukee is, you judge them against other teams. And I think in the National League here, even though the Brewers got the best record right now in all of baseball, and they're shooting for the best record of the National League, and they got a 3-game lead on the Dodgers. The Phillies are tough. The Cubs, the Braves. I mean, Sale bounced back. Well, he pitched okay against Mizrowski last Friday. Miz just outpitched him. And then Sale came up tonight for the Braves and pitched a complete game, 5-hitter, shutout. Complete game, a rare complete game shutout in MLB. And, that's something if the Brewers have to face him again. Obviously the Dodgers, the Cubs. The Cubs are going to be a tough out. The team I don't want to face, that Atlanta Braves team with that power. And the Brewers have split the season series with them, but that Braves team with some power. Of course, you don't want to face the Dodgers, but anybody not named the Dodgers, that Braves team scares me a little bit. There was something eerie about facing the Cubs once again after beating them and having Chicago's number. The Cubs, that is. But it would be great to face them again and beat them again, right? You wouldn't want to lose to the Cubs at home in a playoff, and any place, especially at home in a playoff series. But I do think the Phillies, the Phillies are playing such good baseball. Got off to that really slow start, made the managerial change. They're going to be a force. They're going to be difficult. The wild card playoffs are just going to be amazing in the National League. Really is. All right, let's get to Mizrowski. Mizrowski dealt with some mound issues. Only 9 of his 95 pitches went over the 100-mile-an-hour mark. And now he's had mound issues a few times this year, which it sounds like his front foot is slipping and sliding. When he puts down his front foot, he is sliding there. Doesn't happen at home. It happens to him on the road. There's some mud out there, which now this scares me when I hear this, that he's slipping around on the road. It's a little muddy. Okay, you know what I'm going to say here. Will other teams mess with him? Right? Other teams' ground crews. Well, message handed from above. Will other teams mess with the Biz? There's ballparks around baseball that, they'll keep the infield a little higher in the infield for bunting purposes, maybe a little lower in some cases, right? There's certain football fields the same way for fast teams, slow teams, prodding teams. Yeah, sometimes those grounds crew will tailor the infield or a football field in general to the team's strengths. They won't say it publicly, but that's been done before. Well, Miz go on the road for a playoff game, and they mess with the mound on him because it sounds like it's in his head a little bit too. I mean, he's slipping and sliding around, but the fact that he couldn't get to 101 tonight, he didn't get to 101 at all. But he got 6 innings, 2 hits. I mean, he's still great. 2 runs. But I feel like there's been a few of those spotty performances for Miz. Not feeling well. Body didn't bounce back. Mound issues. There's been a couple of those this year. But even when those happen, he still puts up some nice numbers. But I can't deny it that when I first heard that he had mound issues with the Mets, that he had those in, I believe, Anaheim as well, Los Angeles, that I was like, okay, if Miz is obviously having some problems with the mound, well, opposing teams look at the mound out there and kind of, mess with that mound a little bit. Not dramatically, but just enough to throw Miz off his game. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I'm not. Hey, nothing surprises me in anything, in any walk of life, in anything anymore. So yes, nothing would surprise me. I've seen it happen in the sports. I've seen it all happen in sports. A lot of things happen. Yeah, nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me. Nothing surprises me, including Chourio. Man, he was great again. We'll talk about him coming up next. Chuck Freimund, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Support for today's episode comes from Indeed Sponsored Jobs. When workplace chaos hits, you need to find the right hire. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps connect employers with candidates who match specific needs like skills, certifications, location. Spend less time searching, more time getting spent finding the right fit for you. People are finding quality hires on Indeed Sponsored Jobs at a rapid fire rate right now. I've been talking to you for a short time here, and companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So that's why you need to get on Indeed Sponsored Jobs. You got that corner desk that you need filled. They're going to help you out. I'm talking to you managers and business owners out there. Spend less time searching, more time actually interviewing candidates who check off all the boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need that right person to cut through all the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show, you get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now. Support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? That's a job for Indeed. Sponsored jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And of course, our podcast you get on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your audio podcast. For the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet because of you great Brewer fans out there. Hit us up on YouTube as well. Search Locked On Brewers on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That alerts you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Just don't want you to think I think this Brewers team is bad. They just aren't. They are not as good, and that has nothing to do with this team. They aren't as good as maybe some of those other Brewers teams in the past that didn't even make the postseason. I mean, some of those Brewers teams that didn't make the postseason were absolutely loaded. And man, I would have loved to see what they would have done if the wild card format was out in the late 70s. Were you that 2007 team? Braun's rookie year. That was a heck of a team. All right. Jackson Chourio, one of his finest games, maybe of his career. 4 hits, 2 homers. Really just a big-time performance from Chourio. Had a terrible performance the night before. Bounces back, 2 homers, 4 for 5. He's batting .283 with 25 home runs. Check that. He's batting .283 with 19 home runs. I think he's going to get to 25. And that's talking about a guy who, remember, missed the first month of the season with a hand injury. So where would he be at this point? He would probably be at 25 home runs, or at least in the 20s. But Chourio, .283, 19 home runs. How about this? If he ends up the season, .283 and 25 home runs, considering he missed the first month of the season, I think that's considered a success. He's got, I believe, I forgot the stolen base total. I don't even want to guess on it. But I was thinking before the season he could be a 30-30 guy, which he's not going to become. But I think Chourio, maybe he can get on a nice little roll right now and carry them in this Texas series, going in that series against the Cubs. But, man, that was so good to see. Chourio. I do wonder if Jackson Chourio is the center fielder of the future on this team. I just got a hunch that maybe he's the center, and I'm not taking away from Garrett Mitchell or anything, but I think that Murphy seems like he really likes Chourio in center. Just a thought. Just a thought that just occurred to me just now. All right, Texas coming up next. First of a 3-game set. The Rangers, mediocre. Well, first thing, someone asked me about the Texas Rangers. What do you think of the Rangers coming to town? Well, I don't think much because they're a mediocre team. Yeah, they won the World Series a couple of years ago. But aren't the Texas Rangers like one of those teams? Do you ever see anybody really wearing a Texas Ranger shirt or a Texas Ranger hat or anything, or say, wow, yeah, what kind of fan, who's your team? Well, I'm a fan of the Texas Rangers. Nobody ever says that. And they've had a couple of nice runs, but they've, for the most part, been a kind of bland, faceless team. Now watch them go out and sweep the Brewers. Cody Bradford on the hill, 0-2, a 3.05 earned run average, 80 pitches his last start. The Rangers did not play on Thursday. They're already in Milwaukee as of Thursday night. So they're rest up bullpen. And Logan Henderson going for another quality start. This guy, just incredible. 8-2, a 2.60 earned run average. Logan Henderson on the hill for Milwaukee. On Saturday, Drone is pitching against Cal Quantrill. And Sunday, it sounds like Dustin May is going to get the ball against Rocker for the Rangers. Now, May threw on the sidelines before the game today, just played some catch. Did not have a bruise on his shoulder at all, despite getting hit with that ball that was, 106 miles an hour? The first pitch of the game that lined back to him. And, yeah, I mean, thank God it was only a shoulder that it hit. It didn't hit anywhere else. But he was able to come out of that okay. And so far, the plan seems to be, if everything checks out, according to Murphy, Dustin May would be the starter on Sunday, and that's Robert Gasser's spot. But May would be the starter on Sunday against Rocker. The Rangers, they could hit a home run once in a while. They're 12th in the league in home runs. 17th in batting average. Jake Berger, Jock Peterson each have 23 home runs to lead away. Corey Seager, of course, their big bat has been hurt. They are 66-68 in a terrible American League West division. That someone's going to win over there. Houston is probably the best team there. Houston, they're like a game and a half behind Houston. But, yeah, Rangers, this is a series that Milwaukee's got to take 2 or 3. Heading into that Cubs series. Now, here's what's going to happen. I can tell you. there'll be one of these games where the Brewers will have some sort of weird thing happen. I feel like this is how the Brewers lose a game. Either they strand guys on base, something doesn't hustle, this or whatever. Something will happen where they won't win one of these games, and everybody will be all up in arms. And then the Brewers will win the other two, and things will be just fine. But how about Milwaukee? What a pretty record. 83 wins. 83 wins. Could be Colorado, who on Thursday night clinched a losing record for the 8th straight year. They haven't had a winning record since 2018 when the Brewers beat them in the playoffs. Yeah, they beat them in that short series, that 5-game series. They swept Colorado. So since 2018, Colorado has not had a winning season. That used to be us. That was the Milwaukee Brewers. We've been in those shoes before. Losing is very tough to get out of. It is very tough to get out of. All right, so the Brewers had a big performance from one of their minor leaguers. And he's having an amazing year. An amazing year. He's the home run leader. Going to talk a little bit about my favorite minor leaguer right now after this break. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Running a business should not feel like you're trying to connect a bunch of systems that were never designed to work together in the first place. One app for accounting, another for inventory, another for sales, and then somehow none of them ever talk to each other. And that's where Odoo comes in. Odoo is an all-in-one business management software designed to bring every part of your business together in one powerful platform. From sales to accounting to inventory, marketing, everything works in one place. Odoo is one platform to manage, grow, and scale your business. I'm talking to you business owners out there and you business managers out there. The best organizations out there know that success is just not about talent. It's about having everybody working toward that same goal. And it's true in sports just like it is in business. Great organizations win because operations matter, and that's why you should get Odoo. Odoo is the one platform to manage, grow, and scale your business. Try it for free today. Odoo.com/locked-on. Odoo, ODOO.com/locked-on. Simple. Odoo is the one platform to manage, grow, and scale your business. Great organizations win because operations matter. You should get to Odoo. One other note on the Miz, by the way. He becomes the first pitcher since Doc Gooden in 1985 to have 25 straight starts of 3 earned runs or less. 25 straight starts, 3 earned runs or less. Now, I'm sure those that Doc Gooden went longer than 5 or 6 innings. Pitchers, as we know, starting pitchers back in the 80s were going longer than they are now. Miz has had a lot of these 6-inning starts. I'm not blaming here or lessening what Miz is doing here, but yeah, 25 straight starts of 3 earned runs or less from Mizorowski. And by the way, if you ever want to hit me up for a question, hit me up on Twitter, Chuck Freimund, Freimund, or hit me up on, my Facebook page, Chuck Freimund as well. You want to become friends? All good in my book. Andrew Fisher hit home runs number 40, 41, and 42. He had a 3 home run game for Biloxi tonight. He is the minor league home run leader right now. He is the first Brewer minor leaguer to hit 40 home runs in a season since 1974. 1974. But Andrew Fisher, 42 home runs. Wow, what's there left for him to accomplish at Biloxi? Well, that's, again, some of those numbers are when he was with the Timber Rattlers, Appleton, earlier in the year. He hit like 19 or 20 there. So he's hit like half his home runs, I want to say, in Biloxi and half with the Timber Rattlers in that cold weather. How about, speaking of the Timber Rattlers, Eric Bittanti set the single-season Timber Rattler franchise record for 24 home runs. His 24th home run on Thursday night. Man, all sorts of things going great for the Milwaukee Brewers. Their minor league system, some of their pitchers, these hitters I'm talking about, I mean, it is just looking fantastic right now for the Brew Crew. And we'll see you out there Saturday night. You'll see me walking around the ballpark or whatever. We'll sit in the stands on Saturday night and take it in that game. It'll be a 6:15 start. Brewers have a night game, 6:40 start on Friday, 6:15 Saturday, afternoon game on Sunday. So looking forward to being out there, having some good weather, hopefully. Hopefully the roof is off, and the Brewers can get the job done against the Rangers this weekend. A 7-game, let that sink in for a little bit. A 7-game lead on the Cubs with 28 to go. Wasn't it that the Cubs were just going to overtake the Brewers a couple of weeks ago when the Brewers lost that 3-game series in San Diego? I'm not saying it's over, but as you know, it's looking pretty good. But still some work to do. And that's going to do it for our Friday edition of Locked On Brewers. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, everybody. And thanks for all your support on Twitter. And yes, I got the 10,000 followers yesterday on Locked On Brewers, and I was so happy to do so. After all these games this weekend, Brandon Schneid is going to have Locked On Brewers postcast, and he's going to have the wrap-up immediately after that final out. Tune over to YouTube here, and he's going to have the final, the wrap-up on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's game with the Brewers and the Texas Rangers, and I'll have my rapid reaction on the YouTube as well after each game. So that's going to do it. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, and we'll see you at the ballpark. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.